And then, thinking a little bit more about what is good and effective leadership. There's kind of what a leader does, and then there's how a leader does it. And when I think of the what does a leader do? A leader helps to set a vision for the team. What goal are we trying to achieve, and kind of how are we going to get there? A leader also sets a good example, right? The leader quite often is the first person there in the morning and the last person to leave at night. But that person sets the example for how other people on the team are going to have to behave. I think a good leader also establishes accountability, both for the leader and for other folks on the team. At the end of the day, a lot of leadership is just kind of dividing out work, getting it done, and you got to have accountability to be successful. And then I think finally, a good leader's got to have a plan. So, and that plan is not one that just comes out of the leader's head. It can come out of the team's head. But the leader's got to be 1 or 2 steps ahead of everyone, thinking about how are we going to move forward toward our goal. As the folks on the team are immersed in doing detailed work, what strategically have I got to be thinking about in order for us to get successful beyond the next couple of steps? And then in terms of kind of the how does a leader behave? How does a leader be successful? I think it starts with integrity. So being honest. People can pretty quickly figure out if you're not honest, and they're not going to follow people who they can't trust. So be trustworthy. Secondly, I think you really got to bring the characteristics of persistence to the team. You've got to model that persistence. Your team is more than likely going to run into roadblocks and difficulties, challenges. And you've got to be the person that models for the team how we work through those things, how we take those things on, how we learn from those things and do better the next time. So it's been almost 40 years since I was at LaSalle, so my memory is a little hazy, but I do remember a few things I learned here. For one, a group of my friends and I ran for student government office our junior year, and we had the good fortune of winning. So the first thing we learned about how to do was how to run a good campaign, and we were really good at that. The bad news is the second thing we learned is now we had to deliver something. And so we learned all about how student government works. We learned about how to work with the faculty. And most of, frankly, that leadership, that opportunity boiled down to execution. It doesn't take a great vision to put together a dance, but it does take a lot of accountability for yourself and for members of your team and for the broader team that you grow to handle those things. So we learned a lot about accountability, how to deliver on promises and how to deliver on commitments to the student body and to the faculty. Beyond LaSalle, I've had the great fortune of working at GE for over 3 decades. I've had the opportunity to lead a lot of programs, a lot of engine design activities, and it's a different set of leadership skills that you develop depending on each situation you're in. At a place like GE where we're doing work that's very physics-based, a lot of it is the physical analysis, or what we call the numbers tell the story. And so the key to leadership is put together those teams that are going to do good design work, maybe a design A, a design B, and a design C. Lay out the requirements for what success is for the team, and then do an assessment of which of those designs best meets the requirements. So it's a little bit more numerically based, it's a little bit more objective, but it still takes all the leadership skills that we talked about earlier to be successful. And whether it is at LaSalle or whether it's at GE, one of the things you always want to do is keep your eye out for successful examples of leadership and learn about those. Learn from those lessons, learn how to be a more effective leader. There were a few teachers, when I think back, who had a big impact on my development and especially were great examples of how to be a leader. In the classroom, I was interested in science and mathematics, and I had a great teacher, Ray Hydorn, who taught math for many years here, and a chemistry teacher, Richard Mittendorf, who were both passionate teachers and really good at what they did and really got me excited about those disciplines. Bob Salbury was a gentleman who ran the theater department here for a number of years, and I was involved in the plays here. My future was never going to be on Broadway, but I learned a lot from him about how to do as much as you can with the talent you had. And although each one of those 3 individuals that I had contact with here at LaSalle were a bit different in their style, they all had one thing in common, and that is that they cared. They were passionate and they cared about the success of the team and they cared about the individuals on the team. And that's something I've taken away and tried to model as a leader. The more you can show your team that you care about them And the more that you can create a culture where they care about each other, the more successful that team's going to be. I guarantee it every time. Building that care, building that trust, building that commitment that we're all in this together and that we're looking out for each other, that team will achieve much more than a team of just individuals working for themselves. So I think the first thing to remember is you're the leader of yourself, right? You're the leader of one. And so you want to think about ways in which you want to behave, in which you want to act, things that you want to achieve, and then demonstrate those through your actions. And what you'll find is that when people see you behaving in a principled way, doing the right thing, they will naturally want to follow you. The world is starving for effective leadership, and people who can be consistent with a set of ethics and beliefs will attract people who want that leadership. Once you've kind of figured out how to lead yourself, then look for opportunities to be a leader in small things. So maybe it's a small group at school, maybe it's a club, maybe it's a team, a sports team. There are a lot of ways in which you can lead, but look for those ways to set a vision, to establish accountability, right, and to be persistent with driving through to success. Those are being that small team leader is really important. One other piece of advice I would give is, just be ready for the fact that occasionally you're going to fail. Most of the folks in this room are 15, 16, 17 years old. You don't have a lot of experience in life. Heck, I'm almost 60 years old and I got a lot of experience, and yet I still fail and fall short. The important thing is that when you fall short, you look at why you fell short or why the team fell short, and you learn from it. And you think about ways to be more effective the next time. And you just keep building on that success.